Hey ladies, welcome into day 2 of the Business Breakthrough Challenge. Today we are literally going to map it out, meaning we are going to go through your business basics, your strategy, and the systems that will support that so that you have an actual super simple, clear, smart plan to run your business off of. So if you did the homework yesterday, then congratulations. I hope you guys had some good aha moments. I know that sometimes those exercises can seem very elementary, but if you do spend the time and you do them, then often it does pay off, because usually what we see is we're stuck in doing all these shoulds, and what really matters to us is a completely different set of priorities. And so it's really important to make sure that you're clear on that stuff, because that's gonna kind of leak into what we're gonna do today. So the key to mapping out your business is to keep it very simple. So everyone's paying for, and I have too, 100%, all these fancy, huge, elaborate strategies. And then what happens? We end up building all the nuts and bolts and pieces, and we get super fancy to start with. And then we literally lose track of what's actually important in our business, which is just generating leads and talking to real people. At the end of the day, that is the thing that will bring you the most income, is talking to real people. So I always preach talking to real people, because it is the fastest way to get your messaging nailed down. It's the fastest way to build offers that attract your people to you. And when I say talk to real people, I mean actually go out and talk to real people. If you have not spent time talking to 30 of your ideal clients yet, then you should start there. And if you don't know how to do it or how to find them, then send me a DM. I can walk you through it. It's such a simple process. And it is the process that I have had the most success with helping my clients get super clear on who they want to serve. The ones who actually go and do the work and talk to people skyrocket their businesses so quickly, because when you're hearing the words coming straight out of your ideal client's mouth, you already know your stuff, but they might not understand what they need because they think they want something different. So when it comes to mapping it out, I want you to keep this super simple. Hey Liz, so that it is done in a sense. Like you literally are gonna map this out today. You're gonna know what your flow is, and it's done. Actually, I think I need to switch my camera so you guys can read. Hold on one sec. Boom. Okay, that's better. You'll be able to read my writing now. Look at me, I already figured that out. That's good. Okay, so day 2. So, map it out. That is terrible writing. Whatever. Okay, so we're gonna start really quickly. I'm gonna just put these on the board, and you guys can take a screenshot. You can come back to it later, whatever you need to do. But basically what I want you to do is write down the main concepts, and then we're gonna just put 3 quick bullet points underneath each one. So, basics. Write down your brand, and I want you to put 3 little dots underneath. Hey Steph, I just saw you hopped in. 3 dots. Now this is stuff that's going to come out of what you just wrote down yesterday for your Find Your Fire. So who do you want to become? What do you want to be known for? And what's the problem you want to solve, right? Who do you want to work with is your audience. You can put 3 bullet points here. Just 3 random facts about the people that you love working with. So Liz, for you, it's introverted mompreneurs. That is one of your bullet points, right? It's also probably somebody who's health conscious, because you enjoy that kind of thing. And it also gives you the ability to connect and be relatable to that same audience. And then on another basic level, it's like, what do you sell? So do you sell a service? Do you sell a product? Do you sell... I'm just gonna move this way. Oh my gosh. I hope you guys aren't getting dizzy. What do you sell? What is the thing that you want to sell? So for me, it's coaching. I have different types of coaching packages, different options that people can come in and buy. But for service-based entrepreneurs, I feel like coaching is separate, even though it is kind of a service. But in my own head, I like to keep it separate. I have a consulting business as well that's completely different from my coaching business. So what is it that you are selling? You need to know your brand, which is who you are and what you stand for, what people feel like when they touch your stuff. Who's your audience? Because you really need to know who you're talking to. Otherwise, it's going to be really difficult to pull them in. And you need to know what you're selling. So is it a service package? Is it a certain number of sessions? I know that Julie was on here yesterday and she is selling speech therapy for kids. Like, it's such an awesome thing to sell. So anyway, and then Ricky, I know that you'll be watching the replay. She's selling courses, parenting courses. Steph is hypnotherapy. Liz is selling virtual event support, basically. How to like organize. So she has different packages for how to, organize your virtual event or a challenge or a masterclass or a workshop, how to lay it out, how to kind of, get the ideas for your content, how to market towards it, how to put butts in the seats. She has different levels of packages that she sells. So just kind of have an idea of what it is that you sell. These are the basics, and I don't want to dive too far into these because I think they're pretty straightforward, and you just need to make a decision and write down something about your brand. So what are your 3 brand pillars? 3 to 5. I think 5 is lots. So what is it that you want to talk about on a consistent basis? Write 3 things down. Who is your audience that you would love to work with? You probably kind of got a feel for that and find your fire if you did the exercise last night. But who is it that you really love working with? I love working with super driven women. I also do work with men in private coaching, but I don't invite them into my groups because it changes the dynamic in what people will say, how much they'll come forward, and that's fine. But that's not what I want to create in my groups. That's why I have the Ambitious Mom community where it's only women that I let in, because I don't want the influence. It's a different vibe, right? Men have a different vibe, especially in the entrepreneur space. So it's not a bro marketing thing, but that's my ideal client. You might love bro marketing people, so then you would put that there. And in terms of sales, it's just like, hey, what is it? What is your goal? What is your vision? What do you want to sell? How many do you want to sell? Just kind of map that out a little bit. So I'll just put goals there. So figure out your money. Know your numbers. How much do you want to make? What's it going to take the pressure off in your life? All those kinds of things. Okay, so number 2. Pick a different color. This is really, really, really important that you choose your strategy according to what you actually like what kind of a person you are. I touched on this yesterday, but if you're not the kind of person that wants to show up every single day on social media, then don't make that your visibility strategy. You know what I mean? All you have to do is pick something that you know you will be consistent on. Sometimes you have to force yourself to be consistent, but forcing yourself to be consistent is very different than forcing yourself into something that you hate. You know what I mean? So make sure that you're making that distinction. So we need 3 things. Visibility, so important. If you think about it, whenever somebody lands on your social profiles, do they instantly know, or can they instantly take a next step with you somehow? So do you have like a freebie or an event coming up or something that they can go to and register? Do you have a cover photo that says what you're up to or who you are, what you're all about? People shouldn't have to go dive in and try to figure out who you are and what you do on social media. It should be very obvious to them. So visibility, that starts with your profile. It starts with your picture. I mean, you have to have a solid picture. Otherwise, people are buying from personal brands because they want to know and connect with people, right? So make sure that you don't have a picture of your cat in your profile picture. I mean, most of you already have this nailed down. I just wanted to cover it really quickly. But visibility is just what happens when people are touching your account. So whether it's brand new people coming in, whether it's people that have been following you for a while, whether it's existing clients, that's all just the consistency of you showing up, right? Lead generation, very different than visibility. I talked about this yesterday. Posting on social media is not the same as a lead gen strategy, because most of us have our aunts, our uncles, our moms, our grandmas, and our friends from high school on our social media. Unless you've been working at this for a while, you cannot just expect to post things. This is where network marketers actually go wrong. They post like crazy and they think that's lead generation. But there's only a certain small percentage of people, doesn't matter what industry you're in, there's a small percentage of your personal friends who will ever become business clients of yours. And most of us are not in network marketing. So it's even slimmer, because at least network marketing is kind of set up to talk to other girlfriends that aren't really business people. But if you're in a business where you're targeting other business owners, that's most of your friends from the past are not going to be business owners, right? So if you have not focused on lead gen to pull people into your community, into your following, who actually have the potential to buy from you or work with you at some point, then your visibility is not going to count, right? Visibility is almost like creating like a business card that's like, hey, I'm here, this is what I do, right? But then we still have to have a lead gen strategy to pull people in. So I love to run summits, is something that a lot of you guys have come in on, and I borrow audiences from my guest speakers. That's literally how the summit model works. So they invite their audience to come and watch the Ambitious Mom Summit. I host it and put it on. I also invite my audience, and that is how I have built the majority of the people on my email list, because I focused on that in the last 6 months. Posting on social is not a lead gen strategy. Correct. Old Liz is pulling out the moderator skills. I love it. Okay, so visibility, lead gen, and then of course your sales process. Okay, so a lot of people get really confused about what a sales process needs to be. Remember yesterday I said you can call it a process, you can call it a pipeline, you can call it a funnel, but a lot of people get really worked up about, oh my gosh, it's a funnel, it has to have all these fancy gimmicks and I have to use a ClickFunnels account and whatever. You can use ClickFunnels, but you can also build something that's super simple. Julie, if you're watching the replay, I think I helped you build one out one day. It was like, go get a free Google form that you all have access to in your Google Forms. Create a little short questionnaire, no more than 6 questions, and then just have that as your call to action everywhere you go on the internet. So if somebody's searching for speech therapy for children, because they have something going on with one of their kids or two, they'll land on something of Julie's, and then the instant call to action is, please submit, answer these questions, and I'm happy to jump on a free consult call with you to provide suggestions of what you can do at home. Like, that's as easy as it needs to be, and that's her process. Because don't forget that the sale, don't feel like you have to force somebody into a sale when you're pulling somebody through a process of yours, because you are qualifying them as well. If you don't like their attitude or their style, then you don't have to make any offer to them at all. So basically, and Liz, you have another similar process. Every time you brought people into your master classes, at the end you had a CTA to jump on a free clarity call. You guys can call it whatever you want, whatever you're comfortable saying. But her process was jumping on a clarity call, and she closed 50% of the people that she got onto her free clarity calls. And she basically just said at the end of her master classes, hey, if you want some help kind of getting your ideas straightened out or whatever, jump on a free clarity call with me and I'll help you organize your thoughts, or whatever you said. It was very straightforward. It doesn't have to be crazy. Steph, I know that I don't know if you're still watching live, but I know that you generally pull people onto some sort of an introductory call as well, even though the golfers are coming in and just paying to jump in with you, which is awesome. But this is what I mean about it can be a super simple sales process, right? Most of the time I book one-on-one clients off of free strategy calls or very low ticket stuff that I do. And it's because most people want to come in and to know that the one-on-one support that I can offer fits with them and actually will do what they want it to do. And the exact same thing is going to be for you no matter what service you're in. Your last masterclass, you forgot a CTA? Well, that's okay. You know what? How many people came live? Or how many people signed up for it? Because the cool thing about that is that you have a community of people and you have built a following that knows that you're like, I take messy action. And you can even say, after the fact, you can message each one of them individually and be like, hey, I forgot to mention there's free clarity call for anyone that showed up to the masterclass. If you would like to book one, here's my link. Makes sense. Steph says, first masterclass, almost everyone had a consult call with you. Yeah, exactly. So the thing is that if you were to repeat that process, right? Okay, let's take sales out of it for a minute. Because this is where everybody gets all like, oh, I don't want to sell. And it's like, calm down. You have a business you need to sell, okay? Let's just get that out of the way. Not everyone's going to sell the same way I do, or the same way that Liz does, or the same way that Steph does. You always have your own style, but you have to have a process that you bring people through. Otherwise, you have no chance of sales. So make sure that this process is very comfortable for you. So when we put together offers, I always tell Liz, like, let's make an easy yes offer. So that doesn't mean just easy for the other person to say yes. That also means easy for her to say. So if somebody jumps on a call, a clarity call with her and says, hey, how can I work with you? Because that does happen if you're doing your calls properly, right? You're providing a lot of value and advice. And then you say, well, I have a couple of options, and then you just state them, and then they can choose which one fits for them. But you have to have that roll off the tongue, total confidence that what you're offering makes total sense. Like, it's a no-brainer for somebody to come in and buy it, right? Okay, so do you have any questions on process? It needs to be super simple. I love to run conversion events, meaning like something like this, like a challenge, where at the end I can say, hey, jump on a clarity call with me. Let me know where you're at, and let me know what you actually specifically need help with or feel like you're stuck on right now. And then I can let you know, okay, so here's what I would recommend based on what you're telling me. I've done it lots of different ways though. Sometimes a process that I have brought people through is just to sell straight off of my challenges. I don't get as much uptake on that, but if I get into the DMs or into consult calls with people or clarity calls or strategy calls, whatever you want to call them, then I'm very likely to assign one-on-one clients, which is interesting. But you're going to have your own process that you go through, that you bring your people through. But what I'm telling you is that don't get wrapped up in making this fancy. Keep it super simple so that you just know, like, again, Julie, that's such an easy CTA for you, is just to say, hey, fill out this questionnaire and jump on a free consult call with me, and I'll let you know. I've been a speech therapist for kids for X amount of years. You know, I'm excited. I'm happy to get on a call with you and just give you some solutions that you can probably help your kid with at home. And the majority of the time, her recommendation is going to be jump into this course that I've created that will only take you an hour and a half to watch. And then afterwards, you know, let me know XYZ. But she has an easy yes offer for them off of that consult call. Is that making sense? You're not salesy at all. After a call or on the call, they usually ask how they can work with me. I'm working on getting on more calls. Yes. Okay. Okay. This is perfect. So you have visibility. Liz is now doing 3 posts a week minimum, right? Lead gen, you are talking to real people and jumping on coffee chats, which is pulling the right people, because usually she's going out and trying to talk to other introverts, which is her ideal client, right? Her audience. So her lead gen strategy has been to go out and have a lot of conversations with people that are just friendly in coffee chats. She's not salesy at all, doesn't ever plan to be, so that is not her. She doesn't jump into somebody's DM and try to sell them anything ever. That's not her style. So her lead gen strategy is to say, hey, I would love to connect with other introverted entrepreneurs or mompreneurs. You know, would you like to have coffee with me? And a lot of people have said yes. Like, how many calls would you say you've been on so far, Liz? Like in the last 3 months? So your lead gen has to match your personality. And then your process can be as simple as, once she's talked to people and connected with them, she makes sure that she takes note of who she actually would like to work with, who she had good chemistry with, and then she just invites them to a free masterclass, which is her process to get them onto a clarity call. And she has, like she just said, a ton of people end up asking how they can work with her off of that clarity call. That is her process. It doesn't have to be fancy. So now all she has to do is stay a little bit visible, just so she has her presence, right? She's nurturing her audience, and she also looks like she's in business when somebody lands on her profile. She is pulling people to coffee chats, which pulls them into her audience and gives her people to invite to her events. And then she has these free masterclasses or workshops, and at the end has a simple call to action. And if she forgets the call to action, she can message them and say, hey, just so you know, free clarity calls, blah, 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 blah. So talking to them in the DMs, inviting them on coffee chats or to your Facebook group. Yeah, perfect. About 3 to 7 per week. Okay, so the beautiful thing about this is that she is starting to be able to understand her numbers in terms of, okay, if I get this many people to one of my events, one of my master classes, 50% approximately asked to work with me on some level. So now she understands that if she gets 10 people, right? So at the beginning, she was only pulling like 4 or 5 people to her master classes that would actually show up live. And the live is not the most important part. The most important part, I mean, if you can get people live, it's great. But most of us watch things on replay. Who here is watching on the replay? Hashtag replay, just so that we can see later. Because there's always going to be 3 or 4 main people that show up to one of your events, especially if you got about 20 people invited. But don't get discouraged by that, because a lot of people watch the replays, and a lot of them watch the replays days later. So don't feel discouraged. Whatever your process is, you have to stick to the process and the pieces of the process that you can control. So don't be discouraged. Like Liz, she did her first 2 or 3 masterclasses and had already signed like 6 clients, right? So now she understands her process, and now it becomes a battle. This is what we're going to talk about tomorrow about executing. It's the mindset of the energetics of like, okay, well, I thought I'd be making $10,000 by now, but I only signed 6 clients this month, but I made 2,000, which is a lot better than 0. And if I just start to refine my process or put more people into my pipeline, maybe I just need to increase my lead gen. Doesn't mean you need to touch this. If you've already got 3 solid posts going out a week and people are starting to engage with your content, that's awesome. Then you focus on lead gen because you want to invite people to your event. So whatever your process is, you focus on where do I need to spend more time on the activities that I can control. Okay, I'm missing comments. Sorry, guys. Lives kill me when it feels empty. Yeah, of course it feels empty for sure. That's just something that you get over with practice. I've literally showed up to challenges where nobody showed up live and I just delivered anyways. And then later on people come in the comments and they'll say, you know, thanks so much for doing this or whatever. And you're just like, oh my gosh, somebody did listen, right? And I think that comes down to execution tomorrow too. We're going to talk a lot about the mindset around this. So bring all of those fears, all of those questions, all that stuff that comes up, because everyone goes through that. And even when I first started doing lives, I don't think there's a person on the planet that hasn't gotten sweaty and stuttered and like forgot words and whatever when they first started doing live videos. Like every single person I know. Even the super, like I'd say I'm a pretty extroverted, Liz, what would you call me? I'm extroverted. I like a lot of action, but that's actually an extra challenge for me because I love the interaction on lives, because I love to work with a lot of energy, especially because I focus, or my coaching style is very much built on intuition, which means I need somebody to give me something so that I can go and figure it out for them. Do you know what I mean? So if I'm talking to nobody, I have to just keep using like examples in my head from other situations I've been in to give the examples that are necessary for it to make sense and land for a lot of people. Does that make sense? Your introverted mompreneurs seem to prefer the coffee chats to consult calls. Yeah, of course. Now, at the end of a masterclass, when you're inviting people with your CTA to a free clarity call, is that what you mean? Or are they still going to coffee chats after that? Because that's an interesting distinction. I think what you're saying is for your lead gen, if you said consult call when you were first talking to somebody in a Facebook group, they'd be like, no, you're trying to sell me something. But if you say coffee chat as part of your lead gen strategy, people jump on that call, what, 40% of the time probably? You have a lot of people coming towards you. And then when you get over to your process, your sales process, that's where you can pull them. Now they've come in, they've gotten a taste of your coaching and what you actually do for your consulting. And they're like, yes, I would like your opinion on this, please. So that's more of like a consult call. So it's like, just know that about people. What stage are they in with you? If they're just in the lead gen stage and they're brand new to you, jump on a coffee chat with them. If they've already come to a masterclass, easy to pull them to a consult call. Does that make sense? I'm very extroverted and intense. You love it. I do make you move. That's true. Last Master had 2 live on Zoom, 3 live on Facebook, and then some watched on replays. Continue to nurture them in the DMs in a friendly way. Okay, so I love this because what was the thing I told you I think it was last month? In terms of your process, you're at a stage where you need to be tracking your numbers. So how many people came in on lead gen? How many people did you go and pull towards coffee chats? How many of those people did you feel a connection with that you wanted to actually invite to a masterclass or to an event or one of your Facebook groups, right? How long have you been nurturing them for, and what kind of touch points are you doing? Because you're not salesy, which is awesome because people don't want to be sold to. They want to buy, they don't want to be sold to. So they're just in the value stage with you still, which is part of your process, and it's great. But if you know your numbers, then you know that within a 90-day period, when you jump on a coffee chat with somebody that's brand new and cold to you, within 90 days, what are the chances that they've bought something from you? And you know what I mean? And so for Liz, she was like, I don't know, this isn't working. And that's a mindset thing, and we all go through this. But I was like, okay, well, how many people did you talk to last month? And she's like, I don't know, quite a few. And I'm like, okay, well, let's start tracking that, because when you know your numbers, then now all of a sudden her lead gen strategy is very different. So now she knows, I'm just using random numbers. I don't know what your numbers, because I know you were going to start tracking them a couple weeks ago. Hold on. Oh, that's the one you said before. when we were talking about really knowing your numbers, it's super key, because I want you to get to a place where you're like, oh, my business will spit out X amount of dollars as long as I contact at least 6 people, or I jump onto coffee chats with at least 6 people a week, and then put them into my process where I nurture them. And then eventually get them onto a clarity call or consult call where I can recommend. Sometimes it's just her jumping in and being a moderator on somebody's live event. Sometimes it's camera confidence is something that Liz teaches for introverts, and she's an amazing person. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. When it comes to leading from the front, I'm going to talk all about leadership, because leadership, the way you lead yourself when you execute things, is huge. And Liz is the best, because she'll just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just showing up anyways. And she'll go live in groups and she's like shaking, and she'll just say, I'm shaking right now. That's awesome. Do you know how many people that she inspires by her just showing up and being messy like that? And it didn't happen her first day out of the gates. She's taken some serious stuff from Tony Robbins, who's like the best in the world for motivating people to jump out of their skin, right? And go do the hard things. Walk the fire walk. Anyways, hopefully this is landing for you guys. Answer some questions if you have them. Some of your introverts aren't ready, but they've said they will hire me when they do their first live virtual event. Exactly. So the beautiful thing about that is part of your process is to track your leads. Everybody needs to do this. When you generate a bunch of leads and then you have no way to follow up with them afterwards, whether it's on an email list or like Liz does, she just does personal touches. She's just such a real person about it. But that's her style. So you guys have to figure out, like, what's my visibility? What's my lead gen style? What's my process that I'm constantly bringing people through? And then are you following through? Because a lot of the stuff I talk about is when you execute, it's not that you haven't taken massive action before. It's very, very likely that if you're not consistent, it's because you take massive action and then you pull back. And so your business just goes like this all the time, right? So you generate a lot of momentum and you're all excited and everybody's like, wow, what are you doing? This is so cool. And then you just have crickets for a while because you stop showing up. And then you got to build that momentum back up again and get going again. And it's just a roller coaster. I used to do that in my sales career all the time. I'd do a big cold calling sales campaign, get a whole bunch of leads. I mean, that was obviously my least favorite part, but I would force myself to do it. And I would put them all into my pipeline, and I would have a bunch of leads to work on for 6 months. And I'd close a certain amount of those deals and I'd be making great money. And then all of a sudden I'd run out of all of my leads and I'd be like, well, you'd have the odd referral coming in, but all of a sudden you'd have to start from scratch again, which would take at least, 3 months to get going again, because in insurance, when you cold call somebody, you have to find out when their expiry date is, and then you start to try to build the rapport, because they have a certain time per year when their insurance, just like house insurance, when the business insurance comes up for renewal. So it was a constant roller coaster ride. And I've done that in my online business too. And it's super frustrating because then you feel like you're failing and like things aren't working. But it's not that they're not working or that you're failing. It's that you're not seeing it through. So tomorrow when we talk about how we execute, that's going to be the key. And for anyone who coaches with me, Liz, you can probably attest to this right on here, but you have to get to a place where you have your strategy and then you just go and execute it. One of my favorite things that my business coach says to me is, some dogs just don't hunt. And so it doesn't matter whether you're a business coach or you're any type of consultant or service-based entrepreneur, selling courses, whatever. Some people just won't go take action. So my favorite thing is to get people fired up, get them to map out exactly what they want their business to look like, and then just go execute. So then it becomes the accountability, the leadership, the mindset pieces and all that stuff, right? Then it becomes leaning into your personal power, which is your fire. Then it becomes about trusting yourself and that what you actually want and lights you up will be what lights the way to your success. I make people believe that. That's like my biggest challenge in life. When you didn't have sales, you felt defeated. Now I understand. I was planting seeds and I'm watering them and time to grow. Yes. Okay. I'm going to go back and screenshot that one afterwards. This is so common. Okay, and this is something that I'm just going to call out right now because I've gone through this too. When you're being coached by somebody, especially high ticket, or you're in a high level group coaching program and you're doing everything that they say to do, but then nothing really feels like it's happening yet, that is the time when you need to lead yourself and keep going and focus on the things that you can control in the process. Because exactly what Liz just said, she's planting seeds. And the hardest part sometimes about online biz, or about any kind of business, is that you plant a bunch of seeds and they all grow in the spring, right? Which is like 3 months later or whatever. Like if you plant seeds in the fall, like your grass seeds, and then they don't become, or they go dormant for the winter, right? With the winter. And then all of a sudden they just pop and your whole lawn looks like $1,000,000. I mean, that doesn't happen in Florida, Liz, but around here it snows all winter. It's just snowed today again. Damn it. Anyways, but the bottom line is that you have to be patient with the process, which doesn't mean hold back. It means stay consistent on your process. Yesterday we talked about consistency. So the whole reason I want you to lay this stuff out, this is the piece right here that is the most important. This stuff can be done in half an hour, right? Like you can nail down what you want people to feel like when they touch your stuff, who you are, what you're all about, that kind of thing. You can nail down your audience. That's just decisions. And you can figure out what your goals are, how much money you want to make, and what you want to sell. That's just like a quick conversation. But the strategy piece and building out the systems that will support these three, that is the part where I want you to get super invested in it, because as soon as you have that clarity, it builds your confidence. It will build your commitment to staying and seeing this through like I'm talking about. And it will literally create the consistency that you need to succeed in your business. Okay. So next, anybody have questions? Let me know if you're watching the replay too, if you have questions, because I can come back and answer them. Frick, man. COVID wasn't like terrible, but it's still lingering. Like, it's like 3 weeks now. I just have to clear my throat all the time and it's super annoying. Anyways, okay. So strategy, we need a visibility strategy, meaning, okay, I'm going to post 3 posts a week. Liz, what did we figure out for you? Just remember, every single person is going to be individual when it comes to what your visibility strategy is, what your lead gen is, and what your process is. That's why majority of people come in and coach one-on-one with me, because they want me to actually dive into their business with them and figure out the strategy for them, right? For each individual person. I want to start doing a group coaching program because I love the energy of group. And I want to do it on Zoom so that we can interact. So that's going to be an option that I'm going to give you guys. I don't know when I'll talk about it, today or tomorrow. I want to start doing, like, I'll teach a piece of this every Tuesday, and then it'll be followed by Q&A so that you can nail it down. And then Thursdays, it's hot seat coaching. It's just like wild, wild west. You bring me whatever you're struggling with this week and I will help you move through it until you feel like I know exactly what I need to do now. That's what I want to do. So that's going to be one of my new programs that's going to be launching right after this challenge. Otherwise, I love the one-on-one coaching, and I can do VIP days too if you just want like a half day of me to just dive into your stuff and map this out with you. I really feel strongly though, who can relate to this, that the piece that you need the most help with, like you can nail this down, a lot of this, and with help it's so much easier, because sometimes you just need somebody else's eyes on your stuff to give you suggestions and to help clarify it. And then it works so much better. But the piece that we really all need help with is the execution. It is the accountability. It is the seeing it through when it's not working. Nobody talks about that in online business. Seeing it through when it's not working is the most important part of online business. Because it happens to every single, like 99.9% of us. There's always going to be the unicorn that rolls into online biz and they're like, oh yeah, I started a consulting business and I made $400,000 in my first 3 months. And you're like, sweet, I'm sure you didn't tap into any of your existing network when you did that. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean like, give us the real picture of how you did that, because I'm a super strong, confident, capable person, just like most of you, right? You feel like that. And I didn't make $400,000 in my first 4 months of business, because that's insane. Unless you're tapping into an existing network that you've already built from corporate or something, then awesome. But most people don't come in and make that kind of money. But then we all go and learn strategies from people who claim that stuff. And then we're like, wait, what? This isn't working for me. You need help with the accountability and consistency. Yes, Liz, perfect example of somebody who would hop on a coaching call with me and she'd be like, I want to quit. And I'd be like, don't quit. Go do this. And she'd be like, okay, fine. And then a couple weeks later, she'd be like, good thing I didn't quit. But then, guys, I want all of us to understand that that is a totally normal feeling that we all go through. And that is why I pay a ton of money to my coach, so that I can call and say that too, right? Some weeks it feels like it's all going perfectly, and most weeks it doesn't, until you get your flow and your momentum built and consistent with your processes. Okay, so now I want to talk about building up systems. Liz, I love how you're such a good sport. Liz wanted to quit and I said no. But I think she's going to be very glad that she didn't. And one of my superpowers that I think that I can claim is that I can see potential of something so much bigger in people than they can see at the beginning. And part of my challenge with coaching is holding myself back from like screaming that at them when they're not ready for it yet. And Liz is a perfect example. She's a challenge consultant. She helps people run virtual events. But what I believe she actually is, which I've told you before, is a massive force to be reckoned with in the introverted mompreneur space. You are going to make such an impact and such a difference for people who feel like they can't show up or don't know how to do this. And it's fun how I'm going to be able to like watch you progress into this role that I believe that you'll take on. But some of us are not ready for it at the beginning. I could sit around and say I'm a sales coach or a strategist all day long because that's what I do. But I like to talk about finding your freaking fire. I love to help people with breakthroughs. That's what I'm called to do. And part of my challenge is, because some of you might relate to this, part of my challenge is that a lot of the time I can do a breakthrough session and pull somebody out of a huge rut and get them into a total lane of clarity in 45 minutes or less. Like I'm a breakthrough coach. But the part that people don't understand is after the breakthrough, remember I talked about this yesterday, comes the spin where you don't know, you feel overwhelmed, all of a sudden you feel like you're back to ground zero, you don't have the clarity that you thought you had a couple days ago, blah, 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 blah. You have the breakthrough and it's always followed by the spin. That's where the real work comes in. That's where the real accountability and leadership and all this other stuff and mentorship is needed, because that's where we spin and decide to be a tornado to go up to our next level, as opposed to being a whirlpool that gets sucked down. Hopefully that makes sense, a little bit more sense now than it did yesterday. You're happy you're still here? Perfect. But Liz had a spin and that was like the day that you could have spun and decided to just get pulled under and quit. But you didn't. You took the challenge and leveled up. You did. It was perfect. It was beautiful. Okay, next. Okay, so under your visibility strategy, forgot to build that out for you guys. We're going to say things like, a lot of you are going to build your businesses on social media. So a visibility strategy can be posts per day or per week. It can be email. It can be blog. It can be videos. Whatever your method is of staying out in front as a spokesperson for your business, as something that looks like you have an active business, whatever that looks like for you. If you want help with that, just DM me and just be like, I don't know what to do about my visibility strategy. And I'll help you with that. But this is so key. Make it super simple. I am literally paying for mine now because I'm so inconsistent with it. So I like to just like fly by the seat of my pants all the time, if you haven't noticed already. And I need help to be consistent on social media. So I'm paying somebody to just make sure that I have posts going out consistently. I can write content like no problem. That's not my issue. My issue is making sure that it's posted out properly. But if I have somebody that's like, I need 3 posts. I need this out. Like I need you to get this ready for me. I need this blah, 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 blah. Then I'm like, oh yeah. And then if it's, don't you ever find, especially as moms, if it's for somebody else, like if you need to get something by a deadline for somebody else to use or to run with or to do whatever they got to do with it, it's so much easier than if it's just for yourself, because you always push yourself off. We have the tendency to not execute when it comes to ourselves, right? Yeah, so you're spontaneous too, exactly. But Liz, you have also done a great job of trading services with other entrepreneurs who can help you, like with your cover pages and stuff. You're just like, I don't know, this isn't my thing. I don't do graphics about this, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, but I found this girl and we traded XYZ and she did this. And then now your cover photos and stuff are looking awesome. Okay, so just figure out something super simple to keep you visible. Don't get fancy. It will get you overwhelmed and make you stop showing up. The way to show up is to keep it super simple. And you don't have to show up 47 times a week just because other influencers do. You just have to be active and impactful. So, Liz, what are the 3 that I gave you? Educational, relatable, and inspirational, I think. And sometimes those overlap. But now she has like, okay, she'll go out. She only has to do 3 posts per week, 1 of each. So that means she does 4 of each per month. So if she sits down and goes, okay, I need to do an educational, like tips and tricks type post about virtual events for, introverts, I have to sit down and write 4 tips and tricks or 4 educational type posts. So she just sits down and writes out 4, and then she'll do 4 like relatable, something connection, mom related usually. And then she'll do 4 inspirational. So those can be quotes, those can be a book she read, those can be like she went to Tony Robbins on the weekend, whatever. And then all of a sudden she's got all of her posts for the whole month done in 1 hour per month, 1 hour. And she didn't have to try to think about what her people needed that day or whatever. She just sat down and she just wrote them out, and then she just posts them out, right? It doesn't have to be harder than that. Hey Kim, I just saw you popped in. Yes, drift when it's your own timeline, totally. Okay, I think we have a visitor. Hello, Rat. How's school?
Good.
Good.
Oh, I got this.
You want to say hi to the ladies? I'm just on a live video.
Sure.
Okay, come Rat. Retsky Roo just got home from school. Oh my God, you're so big. Say hello, ladies.
Hi.
Okay.
Mom, I got this pencil. Except
Oh, you found your best class. Good. Kate, honey, I'll come see you in a
I
minute.
got this except anybody else.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because I said something to Madame Marie, Madame Michelle, and
In
Madame
French?
Jean. Cause,
You're learning how to talk French and you got a pencil with an eraser on the top. This is
and
big
it
news.
was so embarrassing to me.
Embarrassing?
So Madame Pettis gave me this.
Oh, that's nice. Oh my God, okay. He's such a cutie, I know. He's so funny. Haven't done it in an hour yet. Work in progress. Okay, but let's talk about for a second. This is good. Let's talk about for a second how overwhelmed you used to feel by content, and how if I just put it into a simple, like, just go do this, it felt, how did it feel? It felt so much more doable. Steph, you're another one that's just like, I just feel like when you break something down, it's no longer overwhelming and I can just go and execute it, right? That's the whole idea of having a coach that resonates with you. Okay, so systems. So lead gen. Lead gen is very straightforward. How do you want to bring new people into your following, into your audience, into your world on a consistent basis? There's lots and lots of options out there. You can host events, but you still have to go and invite people to them. Don't forget that part. You can have freebies that you're putting out through SEO. Steph is the queen of SEO. If you have questions about SEO, she, I'm sure, would be happy to answer questions. But she just creates really valuable content, figures out how to put keywords into her blog, also knows how to tag them in the meta tags or whatever those things are called, the keyword searches. And then she has people that click on her, whatever her CTA is on her blogs, and they pull through to her email list. Like, they sign up for her free whatever, and then now they've gotten onto her email list, right? So there's lots of different ways you can do this stuff. It doesn't have to be one way or another, but you have to pick one and stick to it consistently and see it through. A lot of you, if you're just new in business or you really need to get some momentum going quickly, do a power hour every single day for 90 days. Of reach outs. Go out into other Facebook groups, provide value in those Facebook groups, comment on other people's posts, get to know, get to be part of the communities. If you don't have your own community, that's cool. Just go and build yourself some rapport in other communities. It's fine. People get so wrapped up in, well, what are the rules? And I can't do this and I can't do that. And it's just like, well, figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, stop telling yourself you can't or you don't know how. Figure it out. This is my tough love coaching coming out. It's just like, if you can't figure out how to go and make a friend in a Facebook group, like, figure it out. Literally, just figure it out. Liz is like, I don't know what to do with that. And I was like, well, here's what I think you should start with. And then you started doing it, and now it's second nature to you, and it's no big deal, right? It's amazing how far somebody comes in even 30 days. How long have you been doing that for? December, January, February, March. You're into your 5th month? And is it hard for you to go and do that now, Liz? Like, I want to know how you feel about it on a scale of 1 to 10. And it doesn't mean that it has to be like, oh, I do that in my sleep. But does it feel overwhelming, and does it feel like you have pressure on your chest like you did before you started? No, I don't think so. 3 times a week you're posting because it feels way easier. Before it was only once a week. Stuff and spend 8 minutes and 30 seconds reading. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so lead gen. Pick a way that you want to pull people in. Whether that is reach outs, can you see this? DMs, SEO/freebie, Facebook groups, events, collaborations, could be podcasts, whatever. Podcasts are great. I think depending on whose audience you're in front of, as long as it's the right audience, you still have to have a solid call to action for somebody to come and grab something like a freebie or something from you, or to follow you at least on Instagram or something, and then you have the ability to go and DM them, hey, thanks for the follow, how'd you find me, blah, 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 whatever. Whatever your strategy, whatever you love, do you love to talk to people? Like, figure out what it is that you will actually do consistently. We have to pick something. There is no business without lead gen and sales, so you have to do this part. Just pick what you like though. And it doesn't mean that every single day you're going to be like, yes, I get to go and talk to people in Facebook groups today. Like, it's not always about that. But is it something that you can see yourself doing consistently over time? That is the key here. Keep it simple, but pick something and stick to it and see it through. Okay, so then your sales process. Every single person is going to be different, but at some point there is a CTA to the next step, right? Sometimes that's off of your social posts. Sometimes that's off of DMs or things that you blog post or whatever. There's going to be a process to get them to a next step. Whatever your process is that you've built out can be super simple. Like I said, could be a Google form, could be a consult call, could be a free strategy call, could be a whatever works for you. You just have to figure out what you want to start inviting everybody to eventually. No pressure, overwhelming. Love coffee chats now before you're super nervous about talking to random ladies on Zoom. Okay, I know this is going to sound like a broken record, but like this is a perfect example of kids learning how to ride a bike, and once they get it, it's just like no big deal. It's exactly the same process with your lead gen and your sales process. Once you've done it a few times, it feels like it was no big deal. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like Liz is a prime example. I'm going to use you again. You're a prime example of somebody who can now go and teach other introverts how to do this because you've actually done it yourself. You're leading from the front. You're going first. You've literally gotten to a place. Some people are still shaking in their boots about even asking somebody to a coffee chat. And you're like, I know it feels like that. And you can describe the throw up feeling in your mouth. Like that's the one you always use for camera confidence and stuff. But it's like people still are shaking in their boots. And you literally have the bridge to get them to where they want to be. Because you just went through it too. And she doesn't have to be a PhD in online reach outs to be able to help other introverts. She just has to say, hey, I know how you feel and here's how I got over this, or here's how I got through this, right? I love it. Okay, so next, your strategy. Obviously we talked about visibility, your lead gen, and your whatever your process is to pull people through to the chance of a sale. Yes? So now your systems, you just have to build this out, which is, okay, what do I actually have to do for this strategy that I picked to happen? So if you want to post 3 times a week on your social media and that's all you're doing for visibility for now, cool. Literally, I put 1 hour or 2 hours and I create 4 education posts, 4 inspiration posts, and 4 relatable posts. Whatever your system needs to be. It's like I sit down, I write out 12 posts, I go and use a scheduler, I post them out so that they're already gone. Because then if you're just inspired and things are cool and whatever, then you can post the stories and you can add extra shares and posts and whatever. But you know that the system that you're building is that you have 3, I'm just going to use Liz again. You have 3 posts per week that go out. So what is your system to make sure that happens? 2 hour, let's call it a 2 hour, oh, I'm losing my pen. 2 hour block. Where you write 12 posts and schedule them, right? Same thing for lead gen. What do you do on a daily or weekly basis to pull in the amount of leads that you need to make this work? Or if your lead gen strategy is SEO, how many blog posts or articles are you posting? Or how many YouTube videos are you putting out per week? Making sure that you have the right keywords and everything in there so that and don't forget that SEO is a super powerful tool and it takes a little while to get going, but if you stay consistent on it, within 6 months, you'll see results. So you could be doing a lot of SEO plus reach outs if you know that you want to do reach outs to get momentum going, but then you want your SEO to catch up eventually and take over your SEO or your lead gen. Totally fine, but you have to stay consistent. You have to see it through. You're determined to actually do this for me. Yeah, okay, so we talk about this all the time, I think, in online biz communities, but like if you put it in your calendar, it happens. But only if you execute, and that is part of leadership. Lead yourself to execute what you said you were gonna do in your calendar, right? We're gonna talk about that tomorrow. Okay, so whatever your lead gen strategy that you chose is, what is the system, the action plan that you actually need to go take in order to make that happen? So if you were saying, I want to get into massive momentum in my business and I want to DM, like I want to get into conversation with 90 people in the next 90 days. That's a super doable goal, which seems huge at the beginning. But if you think about it, 30 people per month to get on a coffee chat with, man, you will have your messaging nailed down, your offers nailed down. You'll have people to invite to anything that you want to put out or offer. It's the fastest way to get out into the world and to get momentum going in sales is to do a 90-day boost is what I call it. So you're going to talk to 90 people in 90 days and it's super easy to do. So let's just say that you wanted to do that and you wanted to cycle it every 90 days. You could do that. But at the end of the day, you need to know how many reach outs am I doing per week and per day? How much time am I spending and where am I putting that on my calendar, right? So you're saying, I don't know, what's 30 divided by 4? How many is that? 7 to 8 a day? 8 reach outs. I'm just using random numbers because everybody's system is going to be different, but I'm just trying to build this out so that you can see how easy this is. If it was Facebook groups, you're going to say I spend 20 minutes engaging with new people. I spend 20 minutes, going in and interacting with people who have already responded to me, and I spend 20 minutes at the end. So this is 1 power hour every day of the week. So the other 20 minutes I spend going and actually interacting with people that I've talked to before, had great chemistry with, just want to touch base, right? And that's as easy as putting people on a spreadsheet. And I tell all my clients this all the time. Make sure that you're only tracking people that you actually want to talk to or potentially work with one day. Don't talk to people you got a bad vibe from. Don't talk to people who make you feel less than. Don't keep following up with people or touching base with people that you kind of got an icky feeling from. This is your business and you get to decide who you want to work with. So you don't have to put up with people's shit like you did in customer service in any other capacity in a corporate job or in a profession. You don't work for somebody else. You work for you, and you want people who are going to be respectful, who are going to work hard, who are going to respect what you have to say, right? You're going to want to work with people that make you feel excited and like you want to go out of your way to help them, right? So if you get a bad feeling or a bad vibe from somebody on a coffee chat, for example, on a reach out, do not put those people on your list. You are literally going to be driving yourself crazy. Because guess what? When you see that person come up on your list later as part of your power hour to go follow up with some people and just touch base, just see how they're doing, or send them an article that you thought of them on or something, you're going to be cringing and you're not going to want to do it. And then it's going to be something that you're resisting all the time and fighting against. You want to go look at your list of people that you haven't talked to in a month or two and just be like, oh my gosh, that Julie, I love her. I know she's into this and blah, blah, blah. And I saw this hilarious thing and I'm going to send it to her. Just say, hey, I'm just thinking about you today. This made me laugh and think of you. Whatever. It doesn't have to be. Sales is not hard. Follow-ups and seeing things through are not hard to do, but you still have to do them. So that is your lead gen strategy. Make sure you're writing it down and tracking your numbers and following up. Otherwise, you're just letting all your work that you've done in the past waste away. And then you feel like you're starting from zero all the time because you are. You know what I mean? Okay, so make sure that you write down what is the system that I need to do on a weekly basis to keep my lead gen strategy going, whatever I've chosen. And then your process, what is your system? It is just going to be following whatever your process is. So I like to talk to this many people, and then I like to invite them all to, part of your process might be looking glass events, which I love to do. So you're gonna say, okay, like Liz, you have free master classes that you host all the time on a few different topics. And you're like, okay, this is awesome. I have this many new people coming in because I've done a bunch of coffee chats. Now I can invite them to my free master classes. If they couldn't make it live, that's okay. I put them back on my list of they were interested in this topic but couldn't make it live or whatever. Just track your stuff. It's not hard. And if you want to create a Google sheet, like a Google Excel spreadsheet kind of thing that has everybody coming up to the top based on like a follow-up date that you put in, just literally Google, how do I sort my spreadsheet in date order? And then it will literally walk you through with videos how to do it. I don't even remember how to do it, but I know it was super easy when I Google it, and then I just follow the steps, and then I forget again, and then I Google it the next time. So when it comes to setting up a spreadsheet for following up, you don't have to have a fancy CRM system. You can literally just create a Google sheet and track that yourself, and just, you know, make sure that somebody that you have good rapport with, you're just keeping in touch with them every month or two. You know, if they're already through the process of, you know, coming through and maybe coming to a masterclass, jumping on a clarity call, they're not quite ready yet, that's cool. But just make sure you have some kind of a touch point going out to them in the next month, just so that you're there, you know what I mean? Or go interact with something on their social every month or two, or their stories. And then eventually the algorithm knows that you won't talk to those people, and then they put them in your feed anyways. So that helps too. But is this all making sense? I'm just gonna take like a little break. Determined to actually do this. Oh, that's your content. Masterclasses 1 to 2 times a month because you're introverted and still get nervous. Yes, absolutely. But if you do those repetitively for 6 months or something, and then all of a sudden you've done 12 or 14 or 16 masterclasses, then showing up to them is like no big deal. Okay. Oh, I'm out of breath. This is pregnancy for you. Okay. So whatever your process is that you've laid out, this is my process. Now you need to know, okay, how many times do I want to be triggering that CTA per month or per week? I mean, I like to do it on a weekly basis. So make sure that you go and put a system there. So it's like masterclass, you know, this is where you can control the activity that you can control. So it's like, I want to invite, let's just use random numbers from Liz. Let's say she wants to invite 20 people to a masterclass so that approximately 6 will show up, let's say. She'll know her numbers because she actually is starting to track them, but you only have to track your numbers for 3 to 6 months, and then you actually know your numbers and your process. And that's super important to understand because there's always going to be industry standards, but we get caught up in failing on industry standards. So we're either like kicking their butts or we're totally crapping the bed. And at the end of the day, it's like, please understand that this is your business and you get to build it the way you want it, and you get to track your own numbers, and then we can tweak and adjust accordingly once we know your numbers. So let's say that she invites 20 masterclass invites, 6 show up, so she invites those 6 to a call and she signs 3. And she does 2 masterclasses per month. So now she knows that as long as she invites 20 people, plus she might even have others, now that she's built her, like planted her seeds, she has a lot more people that she can invite to these. But basically what happens is she'll invite 6 to the call and she'll probably close 2 or 3 of them per masterclass. So if she knows she needs to, you know, sign 6 clients per month, then either she needs to up the amount that she's inviting to them, which means she needs to up the amount of reach outs she's doing per day, or she needs to add an extra masterclass with a different topic or something. But it's very easy to figure out that whole process. If you start it, map it out, keep it super simple, just stick to the systems, which are the actions that you need to take, and then track your numbers so that we can tweak it accordingly. Does that make sense? Next month, you're doing a collaborative masterclass with a girl who's working on her camera confidence. It's going to be so fun. It'll be her first. Yes, that's awesome. I bet you she's so excited that you're coming and collaborating too, right? Because introverts are nervous about being on camera and being in front of people. Man, it's awesome. Okay, so the only other thing that we have to do after this, need another pen. We'll go to black, I guess. We're almost bottom of the barrel colors. We're at black now. Now we need to schedule it out. kids have been playing with all my markers, can you tell? Okay, so when it comes to going and scheduling it out, if you're going to be running masterclasses and events, then you want to lay out the dates for them. I like to work in 90-day chunks at least, unless you're at a point in your business where you know that you can lay out your events for a year. So right now, let me see. This is how sophisticated my scheduling is. I have a Post-it. On one side, I have my launch schedule dates, and on this side, I have my summit dates. That's it. And then I put them in my iPhone afterwards so that they're blocked in my calendar. That's how I figured out. And then I have in blue, I have the little topics for each one of my summits listed. And then eventually, I pulled a bigger page and I wrote the dates for the summits and the topics so that when I'm talking to people, potential speakers and stuff, I just glance over at my board and I have them written right beside me. But this Post-it is how I laid out my entire year to start. And then I put it in my iPhone and then I transcribed the topics over onto a bigger page. And that is literally, like, it doesn't have to be fancy. That's what I keep saying. So now, schedule your events. This is what a lot of people will teach you about, like fancy marketing calendars and stuff like that. They don't have to be fancy. They just have to be effective. Smart, simple, sweet, straight to the point, right? So go and put on your calendar. And if you like to have both, like I like to have mine on a little Post-it kind of in front of me, go write down go look at a big calendar on your computer and write down when it makes sense for you to have your master classes. Because then you're going to back that up and be like, okay, so I'm going to use Liz again as an example. But if she knows that this is her strategy and she wants to do 2 master classes per month for the next 3 months, let's say 90 days, she goes and picks her dates, 6 different dates, and then she knows when she's doing her visibility for her posts that have to go out every week. She also knows with her reach outs what she's going to be inviting people to or what's coming up next. And she knows that her process is that she wants at least 20 people to come to each masterclass, which means she needs 40 people per month to invite because she's got 2 masterclasses, right? So now this just becomes a little bit of a adjust the numbers thing to make sure she has enough people to talk to so that she can invite that many people in. And if you want, when you're very first starting out, maybe you just want to invite 10 people and that's way more doable. But eventually you're going to gather enough moss, that's what my dad calls it, plant enough seeds, you're going to be networking a lot, you're going to be getting people are going to get to know you, like you, trust you, and they're going to want to come to your stuff. So when you throw out a personal invite, hey, thought of you the other day, I'm going to be hosting this thing next week, thought you might be interested, let me know and I can send you the link. So you've asked for permission to see if they're interested in the topic and if they want, not a salesy, weird conversation, just a, hey, do you feel like this would be valuable to you? I know based on what we've talked about in the past, like you don't have to say that part, but you know that person a little bit by now, so you know what they're struggling with or what they need help with, where they're trying to go in terms of direction. And some people will come to your free events for a whole year before they'll sign with you. And that's awesome because it means that they're getting warmed up to you, they love learning from you, and eventually they're gonna pay you. Some people will pay you the first time they come into one of your events. Just depends, right? So first you wanna schedule this stuff out. So you wanna put all your events on your calendar so you know what you're marketing towards. And then you're just gonna look, okay, what are my systems here? I have a 2-hour block per month that I need to schedule on my calendar to do all my content. I'm doing 12 posts and I'm scheduling them out and it's gonna take me 2 hours. If this is new to you, you could put 3 hours. I think that I could probably get that done in 1 hour by now, but it depends on where you're at. Call it 2 hours for now, see how that goes. You can readjust if you need to, but put that on your calendar. And then tomorrow when we talk about executing, we're gonna talk about making sure that you actually execute the thing that's on your calendar so that it's just done, it's just a given. And you start to trust yourself, you start to get more confident with it. You know that your stuff is gonna show up consistently because you've already done the work. Then when you come to your lead gen, whatever it is that your system is that you built out, you need to know, okay, well, how long is that gonna take me to do each day or each week? And then you're gonna put it in your calendar. This stuff is super simple, but we don't do it. And then we don't understand why our business isn't getting anywhere. So when I said at the beginning of the day today, like this is the key to all this stuff is to keep it super simple. I know I get messy on my board, but you can see how easy this needs to be, right? Once you have this stuff kind of nailed down and you decide what your strategy is and you build out your super simple system, then it just becomes following your calendar, which is such a relief, right? It's because all of this stuff right here with your system is the stuff that you get to control. So you're not going to sit around wondering why nobody's coming, wondering why nobody's buying, wondering why you're not manifesting millions of dollars. You're just going to simply focus on executing the action in your system. That's it. And you're going to have it all on your calendar so that you know exactly what to do. So the other part of this is if you have certain pieces of your strategy or your systems, I mean, I think this is as simple as it gets, but if you have certain things in here that you have ideas for that you would like to build out so that you can automate or streamline some of your process a little bit, that's awesome. Then we're also going to write down a list of what are the things that we need to build out by quarter, by month, by week, whatever, and then you're going to schedule those into your calendar as well. So for example, if you have your strategy all nailed down and you know that you want, let's say your SEO, you want to focus on SEO, then something that you're going to need to do is go learn about SEO, figure out the keywords that apply to your ideal clients in your niche, even though I don't like niches, but a lot of you have niches, so that's okay. I'm a coach that's kind of like, so I don't know if I have a niche. I like to call myself unnicheable. So, but you know what I mean? You have to find the keywords that are going to attract the right questions that people are Googling. That's the key to SEO. So you're going to need to sit down and probably spend, I don't know, how long's an SEO course? 6 hours maybe? 3 hours? I don't know. I have one in my inbox. I haven't opened it yet. I'll let you know when I do it. But at the end of the day, what I don't want is for you to go and sit down at your computer every day and feel guilty and feel ashamed and feel like you don't know what you're doing, like you don't know what to do next. You need the clarity, the confidence, and the commitment to go all in one direction. And that's why you map this stuff out. And then you just calendar it. And I know that I'm the kind of person that likes to do whatever I want to do all the time, but I'm telling you that as soon as I started putting things on my calendar, now I have deadlines. I'm even having, to pay somebody to come in to hold me accountable on my consistency on my social and stuff like that. And that's okay. I know I need that. These missing bits are exactly why I drift, because the system is missing. Yes! Isn't it so crazy? This is what I mean. Keep it super simple. This is just smart business, especially for us who are moms that don't have a million hours. If I was some single person or dude or chick, whatever, are you allowed to say dude and chick anymore? Well, I'm saying it. If you were just like single, at the world by the balls, you could work 90 hours a week to figure out a fancy funnel that was going to make you $2 million, that would be awesome. But most of us are not in that place. Most of us have kids and responsibilities, and we actually also just want to enjoy our lives, right? Who can relate to that? Because I don't know about you, but I left corporate because I didn't want to work 60-hour weeks. So here's the thing. If you map it out and you have that clarity that you need, and if you need help with this, that's what I'm here for. But you map it out so that it's super clear, super simple, and then all you have to do is go and execute on your system. Is this helpful, guys? I know, Kim, that you said that you found it helpful because it was just the system that's missing, right? The system, just all it is the action that you need to take on a consistent basis. You're just building it into something super simple that you sit down at your desk and you're like, hey, maybe you start with it on a Post-it and you say, I need to create, I'm just going to use this as an example again. I need to create 12 posts per month. 4 of them are going to be educational, like tips and tricks and sharing, some of my expertise. 4 of them are going to be something related to connection and relatability to who I am as a person. So I'm attracting other moms, and so I talk about mom life, right? And I put a lot of humor into my stuff. So that's my style. That's part of my brand, right? But I'm also making sure that I'm always pulling in the right audience or talking to my audience and nurturing them, right? With my posts. And then the third one would be inspiration. If you can pick whatever you want for that stuff. And you can have calls to action on any one of those, or you can have none. It doesn't matter. That's your visibility strategy. That's not your lead gen strategy yet, right? So just go say, okay, I need to create 12 posts per month. I'm blocking out 2 hours here to do it, and I'm going to schedule them out in that 2-hour time frame. So I go and I write my posts. I find pictures to go with them. I go in, I schedule them out, and now my social media visibility strategy is executed for the month. And now that I finish this one, I go to the beginning of next month or the end of the month, depending on where you started, and I put another 2-hour time block in to create content for the following month. And then I'm making sure that I keep my events in mind, because I know what I need to market towards, which can easily influence what kind of content you're putting out. And lots of the time you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to host this event, or I'm going to do this or whatever. So I'm going to have extra content that I want to put out that week, or I want to gear my content that week towards XYZ. Cool. But now you know what you're doing. So it's not like, oh, I don't know, I didn't post for another 2 weeks again. You know what I mean? That's the biggest hurdle. Okay, so that's your action step on visibility. Now you're gonna say, okay, in my calendar, if you're really wanting to, if you're like a dog that's ready to hunt, that's what I call it. Some dogs don't hunt, but some dogs do. And so if you were the kind of person that's like, I need to get into massive momentum in my business right now, then I suggest you do a 90-day power hour. Ryan Dowdy is like the sales queen. I love her. She speaks at my summits a lot of the time, and she talks about the power hour. Where's her book? Here it is. If you haven't read this yet, it's called the 100K Sales Method. Ryan Dowdy, she's one of our awesome speakers that comes in. She's amazing. Do you guys recognize her? Anyway, she's so down to earth. She understands sales inside and out. She built multi-million dollars worth of online biz based on her sales experience from corporate. And she said at the end of the day, what it actually comes down to is spend an hour a day, 5 days a week, going out and interacting in other people's Facebook groups. That's what I was talking about earlier. 20 minutes doing this, 20 minutes doing this, and 20 minutes doing this. If you go do that over 3 months, you will have so many people coming towards you. You will have your messaging nailed down. Your offers will be so easy to create and sell. And you will have a ton of people in your pipeline, in your framework, in your funnel, in your leads, in your process. You can call this whatever you want, but that's what I call it. So what an amazing way to actually just say, would I be able to, if I knew this was going to give me the business that I really wanted, find your fire. What is it that you want? You get all excited about it, and then all of a sudden you look down here and you're like, okay, all I have to do is go generate these leads this way, create 12 posts a month doing this, right, for my social, and then go in and make sure that I'm executing this lead gen strategy, which is the power hour. That's just an example. Some people don't like interacting in people's Facebook groups, and that's fine. You have a different strategy, then we're going to execute on that. But I'm just using this as an example. Power hour here. Make sure you're pulling people through to your process, which can be like a looking glass event. That's what I always call like the little looking glass events, you know, where people get a taste of who you are and what you're all about and what kind of coach you are or what kind of service you provide. And then you literally invite them just to a simple call to action on the end. The other thing is that so many times we get so caught up in which is the sales process and how am I going to pitch and how am I going to do all this. Well, the easiest way is to just be a real person, talk to real people, find out what they need, and then offer them that solution if that's what you actually do. Your posts on your profile are visibility, not lead gen, right? Yes. Yes. Your visibility is just so that when you're out in Facebook groups, this is Liz specifically with her strategy, when you're out talking to different people, inviting them to coffee chats, and they come check you out, because people always check you out, we all go to somebody's social profile to check them out before we see if we want a coffee chat or whatever. They're going to come in and see your posts and be like, yeah, I love her style. She sounds so down to earth. She's got a couple of kids. She's this, she's that. She's interested in going to the gym and healthy foods with flowers on the plant-based, whatever, beautiful meals. Sounds awesome. Yeah, I'd love to chat with you. You know what I mean? So that's your visibility, those posts. So that if somebody comes and checks you out, it also nurtures your existing audience that you're starting to build because of the lead gen strategy you've been executing. It's your sales strategy. Just my authentic, helpful self. Exactly. That's when you get on calls and you just say, hey, where are you at? You know what I mean? Like, did you find my masterclass helpful? Awesome. Where are you at? Like, tell me what you're thinking. Like, what's your next step? And if they're like, I'd love to run a challenge. She's like, awesome. Do you want some help, you know, putting it all together? Do you want help? I can do the moderation piece if you don't want to show up alone. If you want the support in the DMs, if you want people, you know, running the tech, all that stuff. I have a couple different packages. Like, but where do you feel like you're at? That's not her. That's her throwing out her easy ass offers because she knows they're no brainers. But that's still letting that person choose how they want to work with her. It's such a genius sales system. But the thing is that if Liz decides, well, I've talked to 10 people and it's not working, and gives up, then all that work that she already did equals zero, instead of waiting and seeing it through, which actually is going to equal a lot of money for you. Fire! Okay, good. So, does anyone have questions? I don't even know where we're at for time. I feel like I've been talking for a bit, but I knew this was going to be a heavy day. Where are we at? 1:19. Holy crap, have I been talking over an hour? Well, that's me for you. Okay, so you read a book called People Buy You. That's your sales strategy. There you go. Okay. I don't know. Does anyone have any questions before we head into tomorrow? I want you to go and actually come back here. Quickly screenshot this if you haven't already, just so that you have all of it. And I want you to go through, I want you to go through and actually just think about and decide on these things today. And then screenshot it, and I'm going to put a day 2 homework post. Can you screenshot this and send me a copy of it? Liz, can you message it to me? Messenger? Please, just this. Because I want, can you see this all? I think so. I really want you guys to go in and just like brainstorm out 3 brand pillars tonight. Put 3 characteristics of your ideal client. I don't want to just be talking about that you're 35 and you're wearing Reebok sneakers. I want to talk about what you want, who you are, what you desire, what you're struggling with. You know what I mean? Like, put your audience of who you actually want to work with here. And then put your goals, just like a quick sales goal for the year. And what I like to do is put a monthly amount that you want to work your way up to. Because we come in a lot of the time, especially on a challenge like this, most of you have come in and you said, okay, there's a missing link in my business. I want to make 6 figures, but there's something missing. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Have you gone through this process and followed it through yet? No. Okay, great. Well, if you haven't, and you have bits and pieces of your business all over the place, then it's probably going to take us 3 months to get all this running smoothly. And then it'll take us another 3 months to execute on this piece to a point where you're getting up to the income level that you want to. Which means if you want to be getting up to the $8,000 a month mark, then you're going to need to know these numbers big time, which is going to take more than a month to figure that out, because you have to go and take that action first, right? So please tonight go and just fill in, what do you want your visibility strategy to be, your lead gen strategy, and your process to be, your sales process. It gives you the chance to offer a sale to somebody. And then what is the system, what are the action steps that you would put in place to support that, to make sure that that happened, whatever you decided. And then down here, it's like, Kate, well, how, thanks Liz, I just saw it come through. Down here, it's like, Kate, now I have to figure out how I would schedule that action into my calendar on a weekly basis. And if you're there and you have this nailed down tonight, then put it in your calendar. I challenge you to do that. But please grab a big piece of paper or write it down on, I don't know, some people love to work on their laptops. I love to just write things out and then I take pictures of it or I transcribe it afterwards. But make sure you put this down somewhere so that you have the visual of it, because this part here is so key on what we're going to talk about tomorrow. Your systems that you decide to build out tonight are what we are going to talk about tomorrow in order to execute on. In order to execute. What we're going to execute. Does that make sense? Okay, so tomorrow we are talking about stepping into your personal power. We're talking about trusting what you actually want and who you want to work with, that's going to light the way to your success. We have a plan nailed down now. Now we have to just go in and execute. So we're going to talk a ton about leadership. It's about reaching your next level. It's about stepping into who you want to become. And all you have to do is be super honest with this process. And then we're just going to go and follow it through, see it through all the way to the end until successful. So make sure you go in and do this tonight. If you have any questions or get stuck, hit me in the DMs. I'm happy to voice note you back and forth and just get you unstuck and move forward. Hey Roxy, I just saw you hopped in. Step into our power. It's so key, guys. So hopefully you got some value today. I can't believe how long I went. Sorry, I could have broken that up into 2 days, but whatever. Let's get her done, right? So please go and brainstorm that out. Write down. It can literally take you half an hour to do this, and you might have this exact plan that you need to execute by tomorrow. And I really hope that that's what you do. And if you get stuck, like I said, jump into my DMs. I love bouncing ideas back and forth. It's like My favorite thing to do. I love to jump into people's businesses and help. So if you're getting stuck, hit me in the DMs. I'm totally available. And then tomorrow we're going to dive into how you execute, which is like how you own your fire. We found your fire day one. We mapped it out today, and tomorrow we're going to own it, which means execute. Hope you're all having a great day. Thanks for watching. Say hello if you're on the replay, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one. Cheers, ladies.